So for our third session today, we have a patient of ours from the trust clinic named Christian who's going to share with us a little bit about what brings him here today.
Hey guys, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to come in and talk to you guys today. I've known Dr. Stern for basically like 2 years. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me like this? Okay. Can you hear me like this? Okay. I've known Dr. Stern for basically 1.5 years now. He and I met because I'm enrolled here at Temple University. Number one, you guys have at your what's called the Trust Clinic, you guys offer Suboxone to people who are trying to overcome opiate addictions. So I met Dr. Stern through the Suboxone program that they offer here. You'll notice whenever I say the word Suboxone, I say it the way it's written. If I was one of these guys on the street, I would call it Suboxone. But so anyway, I was doing a lot of research while once I had begun the Suboxone, I was doing a lot of research because my problem when I was taking Suboxone was I was prescribed 2 8-milligram strips a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. So when I woke up that morning, if I wanted to go get high, I would simply choose not to take my strip. I wouldn't take the strip, and I knew that, you know, you wait a couple more hours and then I would be able to get high. So I was being treated for opiates. Thank you, boss. I was being treated for opiates, and I was going to my outpatient classes. However, if I was having a bad morning or if I'd had a bad night, I could simply decide to just use again. At this point in my life, I did not have the willpower to actually stay clean on the Suboxone. So doing some research, and quite frankly, there is a nurse who works in the Trust Clinic, Olga, who she and I have been very close the whole time I've been in the program, and she recommended to me something called drawing a blank. Sublocade, right? Sublocade. So Sublocade is the injection that you get once a month. It's buprenorphine. It's basically time-released buprenorphine over the course of the month. So for me at the time, I knew, okay, I know that I want to stop doing heroin. And when I say heroin nowadays, of course, it's all fentanyl. But when I said I want to stop doing heroin, however, I can put a couple weeks together, maybe a month together, and then I screw up. If only there was a way that I could, you know, be forced to take this Suboxone every morning. My fiance and I tried. We tried the whole method of, you know, I told her, I said, every morning, every night, I want you to please watch me put this thing in my mouth. Please sit with me, watch me take my 8-milligram film of Suboxone so that you can go to work and know Christian's not going to run off and go get high today. So we had tried that for a while. Mind you, at this time, I'm an active drug addict. So I was going to the craft store and finding little pieces of orange paper that were the same exact color as the strip, putting them in the film the night before so that in the morning I could come to my fiance and say, okay, we're taking my Suboxone now, put it in my mouth, and then she goes to work and I run off and go get high. So this was not working for me. As I mentioned, Olga, which was just one of the nurses at the Trust Clinic, she recommended to me Sublocade. Sublocade is the injection. So every month I come in and I get an injection in my stomach that lasts for the month. It's basically a slow release of buprenorphine so that if I first of all, it completely wipes away all cravings. First of all, it completely wipes away all cravings. Zero feelings of withdrawal. But basically every month I get this injection, and I know, and my family, my friends, the people around me, the people that are supporting me, the doctors and the nurses who are there, they know Christian is not going to be able to get high, at least for a month. No matter what he does, he will not be able to get high. If someone tries to use while on sub-blockade, number one, they will feel nothing. Number two, there's a good chance they might be thrown into precipitated withdrawal, which is withdrawal times 100. A feeling I would not wish on my worst enemy. Can you imagine your system is plugged with buprenorphine, and then you try to inject street drugs, street opiates, street heroin, street fentanyl on top of that. Basically, inside your body, it's a battle between good and evil, and you're the only casualty in this war. It's the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. So that's a mistake you only make once. I made that mistake 15 years ago on Suboxone. I had been waiting all day to cop my heroin. All of a sudden, someone downstairs in my apartment says, I could give you a Suboxone. I take the Suboxone. I'm waiting for the Suboxone to kick in. The heroin dealer arrives. I do the heroin, and I get really high for 3 minutes, and then boom, the Suboxone kicked in. This was the most pain that I think any human body could ever feel. So anyway, that's kind of what brings me here today. This morning when I woke up, I got a really good night's sleep last night. I slept for 9 hours last night. I woke up, I had made a great dinner with my fiance last night. I woke up not starving. I had a puppy to the left of me and 2 cats to the right of me. The plants that we had been planting and working on during the whole quarantine are all around the bedroom, flourishing. And I was able to get up and make coffee for my fiance. She left to go to work, and I was able to get myself up and prepare myself to come and speak with you guys today. If you guys had met me just several years ago, I couldn't brush my teeth unless I had had a large shot of heroin. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning unless I knew that I was getting ready to go get my fix for the day. I struggled with heroin and cocaine addiction for 13 years. So my story is very, very similar to a huge percentage of the people in the United States who are struggling from opiate addiction right now. I graduated high school in 2003. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. My generation, I'm 35 years old. There was something very strange that happened with my generation. There was so many of us who went off to college. We graduated around 2003. We went off to college, pursuing these majors that we were extremely passionate and interested in. However, something strange happened. I noticed a lot of my friends, including myself, did not get a chance to graduate. We all kind of made it maybe 2 years or 3 years at this dream college that we went to, and then we came back home. So now we're back home, back living at our parents' house, and trying to, keep your head up straight while, you're applying for jobs at a restaurant as a waiter, even though, you would have liked to have been pursuing your career that you had just gone to school for. You come home for the summer, and that turns into coming home indefinitely. I noticed that this strange demographic of us were hit extremely hard by temptation towards opiates and drug use in general. So after 2.5 years trying to pursue a career at Indiana University, Pennsylvania, I came back home, and the idea was that I would come home and kind of, while living at my parents' house, I'd kind of be able to use their support to get my head back on straight. Because mind you, I had come home from IUP because it was infested with drugs. It was infested. I've never been to a frat party where there are people smoking crack. And so I literally had to get honest with my parents and say, please bring me home from this school. I'm struggling, I'm suffering. I come home, I meet more of the people in the same shoes that I was in. Long story short regarding those mid-2000s that were all difficult for all of us. I was one of the people that you see when you drive down Allegheny for a few blocks. I was one of the people that you see standing up somehow, but their head is completely leaned over like this. And you know, you guys probably wonder, how are they standing up but they're completely out of their minds? It's because basically everything is full of this horse tranquilizer now. And the convenient thing with this horse tranquilizer, they use it on horses so they can perform surgeries while the horse is still standing up. And so this stuff is cut into the drugs that the humans are doing. And that's why you see that strange thing where people are standing but bent over. I was one of those people. I was one of the people that was hiding in an empty dumpster at night, smoking crack, hiding in the dumpster because that was the safest place to be while smoking crack. I was one of the people that you see stealing items from Rite Aid so that I can find receipts in the trash can for those items and then go return them at other Rite Aids. I was not one of those people that you see running butt naked down the street. I'm not sure what drug does that, but that wasn't me specifically. I just wanted to get that one out there. So basically, I was in a unique situation where I was doing drugs because I always had this interest and fascination for things that are outside of the norm. I always had a fascination for things that were strange or bizarre or you know, extremely interesting and things that most people don't learn about or ever hear about or know about. I've always had this really deep fascination with things that are, you know, outside of the norm. And my situation was, as growing up, my parents loved me. We never went without anything that we, you know, needed or wanted as children. I came from a loving family. There was no abuse. There was no neglect. So not every time someone has become a major drug addict, not every time that they're in this deep situation of struggling, is it because they have a specific situation from their childhood that they have to fix. With me, it was just a matter of, you know, I began smoking marijuana when I was 15. My friends and I were really into going to like live music and concerts and stuff like that back then, and so then a little bit of cocaine came into the picture right around the time that we graduated high school and then subsequently came back from college was when Oxycontin was really, really big. And Oxycontin, as you guys all know, was basically like, it felt exactly like heroin. And you know, subsequently they made Oxycontin difficult to abuse because you can't crush it and snort it anymore. You can't crush it and inject it anymore. They put like a plastic type thing in it, like a waxy plastic, so you can't do that. So around the late 2000s, as a lot of us were trying to figure out what avenues we had to seek help, what avenues are available for us to get clean. Back then, the big thing was NA and AA. So whether you got in trouble with the law and your probation officer was forcing you to go to these outpatient groups where if you don't have health care, these outpatient groups are $60 a night. You're there for 3 hours a night, 4 nights a week. It's very difficult for people to afford this, and basically at that time, NA and AA ruled supreme. That was the option, was if you want to get clean, if you want to turn your life around and fix your life, you have to go to AA and NA. AA and NA was invented in the 1930s by a guy named Bill Wilson. And the thing with NA and AA is it does work. It does work for a lot of people. The percentage of people that it works for is 6 to 8%. So it tends to work really, really, really well for those 6 to 8% of people. However, the other 94% do not see those types of results. The problem is it's very cheap. It doesn't cost any money to have an NA group. All you need is a church basement and a couple people who have been doing it for a little while to facilitate the group, and you have yourself an NA or AA meeting. And for me personally, I'm not up here at all to bash any sort of any method of recovery, because everything does have its ups and downs. And I know a lot of people have fixed their life from NA and AA. For me specifically, when I was new to recovery, it was very difficult for me to every night go sit in a room for an hour while people are binge smoking cigarettes. It's 9 o'clock at night and everyone's chugging down coffee. But the main thing was, it was very difficult for me to sit there and just hear about these drug stories just over and over again. And I know that the purpose is, you hear these stories, you hear how the person was struggling, and that kind of helps you to realize, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. If they can come from that, I can also, fix my life. But for me personally, it was really difficult to sit there and just listen to these stories. I did better kind of like being at the time I didn't have a comfortable family life because of my drug use. But for me, I liked going outside and going on hikes. I liked taking my dog for a walk, taking my dog for a hike, and literally forgetting about my struggles with drugs, forgetting about the word heroin, forgetting about the word needle, forgetting about the word crack pipe. I benefited from getting myself away from concentrating on only that. And so the thing that I hope that a lot of you guys understand going forward is there are a lot of different avenues that are available for people to get clean. Not only one thing is going to help every person. People are extremely unique. People have different strengths and weaknesses, and I think it's very important to listen to the person instead of telling the person that we're going to get rid of your addiction. Think about saying that we're going to give you the tools that you need to beat addiction. Instead of getting rid of your depression, we're going to give you the tools that you need to manage your depression. I think stuff like that is important. For instance, being careful not to label someone. One of the things that I really look down upon about NA and AA is every time you raise your hand, you have to say, my name is Christian, I'm an addict. Even if I was clean for 20 years, you have to say, my name is Christian, I'm an addict. And I know for some people that reminds them that they will always kind of have the addict mentality and know that drugs feel good to them. But for me, I consider myself someone who used to be an addict. I used to be addicted to heroin and cocaine. I'm not addicted right now. I am not an addict right now. I wake up and have great days, and drugs and alcohol never even crosses my mind. I do not feel like an addict. And so I think it's important when you're thinking about labels and how you're addressing people, to, instead of taking something away, you're going to want to give them something. Don't take away their addiction. Give them the tools they need to manage their addiction and hopefully overcome it. So basically, I was struggling. I was struggling really, really, really bad. I had tried everything there is out there. Like I mentioned, I had tried Suboxone many times. I had been forced to go to different groups because of probation and parole. I had signed myself up for different groups just to save my own life. There was times when I didn't have any sort of health care or Medicaid. I had nothing available to me. All the detoxes and rehabs are full. So I knew if I gave myself another 24 hours, I was going to break some sort of wall in order to get money, in order to feed my addiction. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was going to do. But the thing I hope you guys understand about addiction is the need to use those drugs is just as powerful and as strong as the need for us to breathe right now. That feeling that you have of needing to breathe, that feeling you're going to get later of needing to eat, of needing to drink water, it's literally the same exact feeling. They mentioned the reptile brain, the brain that's deep inside of all of us that makes these, major decisions. That will to use, that struggle to need to use, especially dealing with opiates and withdrawal, is right on level with needing to breathe. If you can imagine holding your head underwater, you'd be willing to do anything to get some air. And so there's been times when I have been so desperate, I knew I was going to break the law, I had to go to the hospital and tell them that I was suicidal so that they could lock me up for 72 hours, so that I would not commit any sort of crime or rob some store or something. There was several times that I had to do that, and this is because of addiction. So I wasn't actually getting ready to hang myself, but researching and knowing that you have to say you have specific suicidal ideologies in order to 302 yourself, I did have to tell them that I knew exactly how I was going to do it and what I was going to do so that I could 302 myself. And I knew for the next 72 hours I would be safe, I would be sick as hell, but I knew I wasn't going to break any laws, and I knew that my fiance knew where I was and knew that I was okay. So that's kind of an extreme thing that I had to do. Hopefully going forward there will be options for someone in that situation that doesn't involve having to 302 themselves. That stuff stays on your record and everything. At this point in my life, after meeting, I've mentioned my fiance several times. My fiance, I was so lucky to meet my fiance. She is the sweetest person in the world. She has never struggled with drugs or alcohol. It's very, very difficult for two people who have struggled with drugs and alcohol to get together and then be successful. I mean, it's hard enough for one of us. I can't imagine two of us, because then I have a bad day and I want to use, and then it puts her in risk because she's fighting to stay clean and sober. I would slip, she would slip, vice versa. So it's very difficult for two people who have had addiction issues to be together. I'm so lucky that she has never experienced addiction issues. I met this human being who truly cared for me. I kept it hidden from her for a while that I was struggling as much as I was. I had hinted to the fact that I had had those struggles in my past, but I tried to keep it a secret. I did this long enough for her to fall in love with me, thank God. And then at which point, you know, after discovering me on the bathroom floor from an overdose several times, she realized I had an addiction problem. Testament to her strength and the benefits of having people in your life who love and care about you. She was able to give me the level of compassion that I needed to help me get clean and sober. I was able to sit down and have conversations with her about my addiction, about using, that I'd never had with any human being in my life. She made it clear I didn't have to be afraid, I didn't have to be scared. I was so used in my life to having these conversations, but they're combative. I'm having these conversations with parents or exes, and it's combative. It's anger and yelling. This was the first time in my life that I had gentle compassion. So we were able to talk and work through it, figure out what I needed to do. That was right the moment when Olga was mentioning to me that I could get the subblockade injection. Subsequently, after doing my research, I got the subblockade injection. As I mentioned before, it's completely impossible for me to use even if I wanted to. And so, you know, at first you might be thinking that that's kind of like a, well, it's definitely a crutch, but it's kind of like a, you know, a false state of sobriety. And I'm aware of that. However, the way it works is I'll be able to be on this injection for 2 years. So as the 2 years goes on, my behavior is rewiring itself, getting used to living a normal life. So I'm getting used to doing normal things. I'm getting used to waking up at normal times and having productive days and experiencing love and compassion with my family. I've just in the last year and a half, I've completely fixed the relationship with my father, and he and I get along 1 million times better than ever before since I was probably 6 years old. And so what it's doing is it's rewiring my brain and getting me used to life, normal life. I always grew up, my family and I, we used to go, for every birthday, we would go to hibachi restaurants, which is the Japanese steakhouse where they cook the food in front of you. It was kind of like a thing we did every single birthday, and there was a few of us kids, so we were going, you know, 6 or 7 times a year. Childhood thing. Lauren and I recently discovered that there's a Benihana's not too far away from where we live. It's about 25 minutes away. So the other day we made reservations. We went, you know, we were ready to go. And I noticed for the first time that I was just as excited about going to have this amazing Japanese hibachi meal, just as excited, if not way more, than I used to be about going and getting my favorite speedball and shooting it up in an alleyway somewhere. I realized that I was so happy, so excited, and so fulfilled by knowing that we were going to have a good dinner that night, that it far surpassed any of these feelings in my past of wanting to do drugs. And so that was the moment I realized that I think that I'm probably going to end up getting this thing. I'm probably going to be able to beat this thing in the end. And so, you know, thanks to everything that the people here at Temple have done, Dr. Stern and subblockade and the other treatments that are available, I've really benefited, and I'm 1,000,000% grateful. And so I just wanted to make sure I came and put a face to addiction and recovery for you guys. And so, by the way, I'm more than happy to, when we finish, I'd be more than happy to take some questions. I just want to make sure you guys know, nothing, if you guys have any questions, nothing can offend me. Nothing would, if you guys want to know any gritty details, anything disgusting, anything strange, now's your chance to ask, because nothing would offend me. So hopefully we'll get some interesting questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Obviously you have clinical care, and it's 2:30, but so maybe Christian can hang out, and we can have whoever wants to ask questions, hang out and ask questions, and those that need to return to clinical care can do that. Is that okay? Great.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I've never felt so safe in one room in my life. God forbid something happen. Never felt so safe in my life, by the way.